BK39, as I say, comes with a slightly different blade here. It's like a bottled green here and a darker green there with BK K-bar on. The BK is this Becker guy who designed it. K-bar make them. It's a nice blade. It's a 5mm full tang blade. A nice high shoulder. Drop point. Very nice. Very, very sharp from the box. As I say, it's got these horrible scales on which are plastic. I've had them off a few times. Careful not to cut my hands there. Okay, very, very capable knife for chopping, battening. I don't think it'll take a strike off there, but I might change that. Just grind it down a little bit sharper. And be a lot better. Okie dokie. That's the blade. The biggest change is this really. You get a better sheath than the original BK9. And a pocket at the front, which the original has. But I don't know if you can see it in there. You've got some moulded plastic that takes the a K-bar skeleton knife in there. Quite handy. And it has a pouch for maybe a multi-tool or something like that. But I'll be putting in a multi-tool. It's handy to have a pair of pliers out here. This is quite good. You see where it fastens with a velcro here. You prise that back on both sides. When you slide the knife in, it's not cutting into this. So it's a canny little improvement. It wasn't any more expensive, the knife. 130 quid. Very tight. Molly compatible. It's got handy eyelets there. That's handy. Put a strap round. That's even handier, so if you want to take the sheath and the knife off your belt, you don't have to undo your belt. Nice popper. Works lovely. So I'll get back to you when the scales are done.
Hello YouTube, it's Outdoors Dad here. This is the second part of the unboxing of the K-bar BK39, which is the BK9 but the slightly upgraded version that you can get now. I've got this off Amazon. I've had it a week now. I said on the first part of the film I was going to do some modifications, just slight cheap things just to get it more user friendly, and it's taken us a week. It hasn't been too hard. So here it is. First of all, there's the blade. I still haven't tested it in the field or camping yet because I've just been modding, but what I've done is I've put this beech, you really get that, handmade beech knife scales on. Really, really smooth but grippy at the same time. Got to be careful because it's razor sharp out of the box. Alright, lovely contoured for a big lad's hand. The old scales on it. Still got the pommel present. Still usable. There, still the metal showing. Chamfered down. It's basically chamfered. Slightly biased to a right-handed person. So this bit here is a little bit shallow. More shallow than the other side. Alright, it's got a little mark on there. Get that off. Alright. But lovely job. Just in contrast, that's what it came with. Monkey green plastic scales, really thin. Hollow inside. So it's a great blade, great knife. The sheath's quite good really for the money, but the scrimp on the scales. I've also attached just a basic paracord lanyard, pretty basic double knot there at the end, so you get your hand around it, get a good bit grip on it, you know, whichever way you want to hold it, so when you're chopping it's not going to fly out your hand. And also it's good for close-up work. I'll show you in a tick, but I'll get into how I made the scales. So what I basically did was I mooched about at work, and I work in the building trade, and we've got a carpentry shop, maintenance shop. It hasn't got a lot of tools in, really power tools, like it hasn't got a belt sander basically, and that's really what you could do with. But I found some wood, and the guy who works there now reckons it's probably beech, 80%, 85% sure it's beech. Could be maple. Okay, it's been there for over 10 years and the workshop's red hot, so it's well seasoned, well dry. I then took the original scales off, these ones, by doing the hexi bolts. And they had a nut on the end, and the nut was machined out when it was manufactured, so you don't have to keep your finger on it or put a bolt in or anything like that. Okay, so once I'd stripped these off, the original ones off, I made a template. As you can see, it's quite rough, but the holes at the time when I first made it were really, really tight and accurate. 4mm holes. I just done that on this bench when our lass wasn't watching, and I just clamped it on the bench and drilled for England, as they say. Okay, I then transferred, using the template, onto the wood that I cut at work, and the rip saw at about 13mm. Then I trued one side and I trued the face on both bits. This was my practice bit. I got them upside down, and they wouldn't work the way I'd done it. So in hindsight I'll make these a little bit bigger so you've got room for error. I then got a belt sander, turned it upside down, put it in a vise at work, and sculpted away really. I used a coping saw first on it to get it within about 5mm, 4mm, and then I sculpted away on the belt sander. Got the shape, and then I went into 180 grit, silicon carbide paper, and I went to 240 grit, silicon carbide paper, and then I finished off, it hasn't got the on the back, but it's 2400, and that made it shine, really shine. A couple of hours went into it, just watching the telly, just sculpting away, just sanding away, to get you what I got there. I then used household white spirit on a sponge, cleaned it, left it to dry, and I bought myself some of that. That's the only expense I've spent really. £6, but I've got our last one's the table done with it, etc. We usually use teak oil, but I've got this now, I'll have to use it. And it's lovely. Everything I've looked on YouTube, etc., knife makers, builders, they all use different sort of, they all have different ideas about what to use, but this was sort of the one where a good collection of knife builders said it was quite good for the DIY knife maker. I then fitted the scales using, just get that in there, furniture coach bolt. Alright, This part, the sleeve, is 4mm. The thread, this part, is obviously smaller, but it's a very tight thread, and when that went into there, through the tang and into the other side, it was really, really tight. Pound or so. Okay, I've spent a little bit more. And I just dip them in a little bit of paint at the end, just to make them a nice colour, really, the same colour as the blade. Alright? Right, next thing I did, the sheath. When I say I did, I haven't done it yet. What happens is, I've made this handle really, really for a big man. You know, man's man handle. Get a hold of something, you know. I like to get my hands around something fat. There you are, or I'm used to it. It's into there. What happens? That snap button won't fit. What a shame. Because rather than spending 60 quid on a Kydex, or 100 quid even, I think this is a decent sheath. Molly compatible, like I've said before. Just a little upgrade. What I've done is there, just put me multi-tool in there, knife, file, etc. Little saw on there. Go back together now. Slide it in there. And its little pouch. And for me, I've got everything I need, knife-wise, in the same place. So, to get around this hopper snap thing, I've got a piece of elastic. It's come off a Thermarest copy type bag. It isn't massively elasticated, but what my worry is the knife scales haven't been tested, and if they fail when I'm out chopping and battening wood, I'm going to have to put the naff green ones back on. So then it would mean adjusting this again. So if I'm going to cut this and make it longer, it won't fit when that's on. So I'm going to get this elastic and put it into 4 bits, so there's a canny bit of tension on, and I'm going to cut a segment out and add it to that. So when it wraps round, it's got a canny tight hold, and you can go back to the slightly smaller handle scales if you wanted, or buy online the My Carter ones, which by the way are about 66 quid or something. So for the price of some Danish oil and a couple of bolts and sandpaper's free at work, like, for a lovely knife handle. Now I'm going to show you what it's like, what a big knife's like for chopping small things. Sort of myth with big bladed knives that they're only good for chopping small trees down, etc, etc. Well, I've been researching it, and I'm going to try a little thing that a guy on YouTube, I forget his name, recommends. I think it's The Roach, quite a famous guy in wild camping actually, but I'm going to have a go at it, see how adaptable it is. Okay, move you over here. In between making this film, looking after me boy, I'm actually cooking the Sunday dinner. Right, so what we've got here is some basil, fresh basil. So we'll get the blade, a lanyard, up my arm, there it is, just above my forearm. Okay, see it? Finger on there, let's have a go. It is. It does feel quite well balanced. Once to get a twist in it, get that off. That's better. That's better. More locked in like that. Higher up here. And the lanyard, on your elbow, round your forearm, it's taking the weight of the knife off. I'm just faffing about with this just to give you it's enough, I don't want a lot on. Just doing a beef roast. At the end, when the beef roast is done, I'll show you how sharp the knife is out the box cutting the meat. Done it last weekend, it was fantastic. Okay. Right on YouTube, here's my little roast. Our lass out with the lasses today doing a baby shower. We just got a little roast for me and the little big fella. I'm going to carve it up using the BK9. Here we go. No pressure whatsoever. It is absolutely, it's sharper than my carving knife. This isn't a cookery program, but that's still slightly pink, just how I like it. But look at that. Thinner, just go thinner for you. Hardly any, just resting my hand on it. Beautiful, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We'll go the other way. I'm going to show you. That's my carving knife. That alone cost 60 quid. We'll see what it's like. Oh, I'm forcing. I'm not kidding you, I'm forcing it. I mean, it must need sharpening or something, that's not right. It's slipping off, it's just, I'm forcing that. I'm annoyed, I feel ripped off. Get the BK9 on it, come on. Daddy's knife, daddy's knife, daddy's knife. It just eats it. Absolutely eats it. Sharp as a tack, beautiful knife, beautiful handle. Some cheap little mods on there. If you don't get one, well, you're missing out. That's all I can say.
What do you say?
What I say, son, is the little boys come. If you're going to do it wild. Outdoors out. If you're going to do it wild. Outdoors dad out.